Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I hope you're doing well. I want to talk to you today about a buddy of mine that was talking about what's going on with the car auctions. We've been reporting that repos are up. We all know that. For the last 6 months, repos are exploding on a percentage basis compared to what they were for the last 3, 4 years, even 5 years. As a matter of fact, these numbers are getting quite unprecedented. But I want to talk about a couple of things that he pointed out, and I want to get his text correct. And he was talking about what he'd experienced just this last week at the auctions. And he said the guys at the auctions were slammed today with no sales. No sales. There was a ton of inventory that came into the auction, he said, and literally he watched an auction with no sales, and he said he was dumbfounded, just completely drop-jawed. Wow, this is getting bad. Now, real quick before I go on, we've talked about Manheim stating that September sales were down 10% month over month, which is a massive drop. So some banks are getting it, that when they repo a car, they've got a certain amount of debt on the books. They understand what's going on with the market, that the consumer is tapped out, which means the dealers cannot pay the rates that they were paying for these cars like they were the last few months, last year, right? Also, with all of the news that has hit about Carvana completely imploding, I mean, being hundreds of dollars a share now down to what, $9, they are headed for bankruptcy. I wouldn't be surprised in the next 4 months that you see a bankruptcy filing on Carvana. And Carvana was the epitome of overpricing, overpaying for these used cars, which between them and other large car dealerships, you saw them paying too much, only exacerbating the problem, right? So when he said no sales, he said it felt like 2 out of every 3 cars didn't sell. So he was just like, holy cow, this is bad, right? So when he was explaining this, he was just dumbfounded. He's never seen anything like this. He says sellers wanted more, but buyers weren't paying. So still we're seeing the sellers of these vehicles, the banks especially, not wanting to give these cars up, or even dealers that are putting these onto the secondary market and saying, look, I'm just going to auction these off. The trade-ins we get, they want too much. Some of them are getting the idea and lowering their price, which is adding to those numbers like Manheim talked about, right? He said that wholesale prices are down 10.3%, which is great because that will eventually flow through to the consumer. All right. But it takes time because remember, the consumer has got a lot of the consumer is holding back, and the dealers have a lot of inventory that they can't sell that they bought merely months ago at higher prices. So they have to make that hard decision to start to mark down their cars just to get some income coming in because their flooring costs are killing them. And he ends it, the text, and he goes, look, it feels like the real decline is only starting. And I cannot agree with him more. This is just beginning. So for all of you that have been, and again, I love seeing the kind of cars, your dream cars, or just a practical family car that you've been, or a practical business vehicle that you've been wanting to buy for a while, but you've been holding off. I love seeing that, right? Because it's good when we say it like, hey, I want a Chevelle, an older Chevelle. I want, a Toyota pickup truck. I want a diesel truck with a utility bed for my business, things like that. Say it, keep thinking about it, keep shopping, but you're going to continue to watch these prices drop. And I see a lot of side hustles in your future, to be honest with you. A lot of people are going to start picking up cars for pennies on the dollar as this winter comes through, because we're going to see a lot of changes. Now, there's something else that he talked about that I want to go over. And this was somebody that he qualified for a loan, right? Somebody that didn't want to wait for a used car. All right. And so this absolutely blows me away. And there are still people out there that will overpay for a house because of the mortgage rates, and overpay for a car because of the bloated vehicle price added to it, all these extra fees and a much higher interest rate. Right. So same thing with houses. There are still a few people out there buying, but by and large, buying has stopped for both real estate and cars. By the way, if you want to check out another channel, the Real Estate Ninja, it's where I do all my real estate videos. Go check it out over there, because that also is about to be an amazing buying opportunity. So this is what he said. An 831 credit score. This guy had a high credit score, and he bought a vehicle from them. He got approved at almost 7.5% from a large bank, and he bought the car. That was with an 831 credit score. Think about this, 831, that credit score is absolutely off the charts. And he said literally almost 7.5% interest. That is insane. So think about what are the people that have in the 700s, which has always been touted as excellent credit. Mid to high 700s has been excellent. What are their rates? Let me know if you guys are financing cars right now. If somebody has, let's say, a 700 credit score, what are their rates right now usually getting thrown out? Because normally that's a good rate. But at what cost? That's what's blowing me away. And that's what I want people to realize. This market is coming down. And that's why when I started this YouTube channel, I wanted to talk about the collapse as it happens, explaining every little piece of the crash so that you understand for the next time. Because even though this one is going to be massive, this is a 100-year cycle crash. But every 7 years to 10 years, we have a recession. And so I want you to be able to identify the key points as things build up, the economy builds up, and as it plateaus and as it crashes, so that you're prepared like I did in 2000, right before the dot-com bust and sold all my stocks. And then before in 2006, when I sold all my real estate before that crash. I want you to be like that so you can just go from conquering to conquering to conquering. And the other thing that's very important that most people fail to understand is that you don't always have to be in the same business for 20, 30 years. Unless it does well and it's in a recession-proof kind of business. There's nothing wrong with starting a business, blowing up, and then taking that money and scaling back your business right before the recession hits so you don't get affected. And then you have all this money to invest in another sector that you see as something that's going to blow up. And that's something that I have been very blessed in, being able to go from business to business and build my net worth up higher and higher every time we have an economic cycle. This next cycle will be vehicles for fun for me, but really real estate is what I'm going to jump in. But there's going to be a lot of money to make in the used car, especially exotic car, antique vehicles, because those toys are going to be sold off from many people that should never have bought them because they couldn't afford it because they didn't have a lot of money in the bank to pay their bills. You will see them selling their toys to you for pennies on the dollar just to be able to stay in their home, to be able to put food on the table. And you will be actually helping them by buying their car when nobody else can buy, but you'll be buying it at an incredibly low price. So remember that when that happens, you're not only going to be able to crush it, you're actually going to help people because you're going to be the only one with some money. Say, I'll buy that Shelby Cobra, you know, that replica car that you probably shouldn't have bought because you didn't have money sitting in the bank. You still owe a lot of money. I'll buy it, you know, for half price right now. So you can go ahead and keep paying your monthly bills. It's a win-win. So start thinking like that. And guys, it's going to get exciting. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, check it out right now. I guarantee you we're going to have a wild ride, and I'm going to explain every piece of the puzzle as it happens, all right? Okay, guys, the Economic Ninja is out.